Next, we can talk about E2 visa.
The E2 visa is more popular. It is so. There are certain things with the E2 visa, like if you're a citizen of Japan, not Tokyo. If you're a citizen of Japan, you're eligible for the E2 visa. If you're a citizen of China, you are not eligible for an E2 visa. So it depends on where you're from, what country you're from, whether or not you're eligible. Now, with the E2 visa, it is an investment visa. You're investing into a business. There is no set minimum investment, so it will depend entirely upon what the business requires to make it operational. If you're buying an existing business, you have to invest in whatever it costs for that business. If you're creating a new business, you have to, whatever you invest to get that business to be operational. And what that means is that you have clients, you have money coming in, you have a plan for growth for the next 10 years. And the reality is there's so many examples of companies that have invested very little money and became multi-million-dollar companies. So, there's no safe number. You'll hear attorneys say that you need to invest a minimum of $150,000 or, that's a number that they feel comfortable with. It just depends on, it honestly depends on what the business requires, what the business needs, how it's going to become operational, what you need to do to make it operational. And once it becomes fully operational and you see income coming in, that's a possibility for you to be able to file the E2 visa. Again, I look at it as if I'm an officer. I look to see how the business is growing.
Okay. So what are the most common business to buy for E2 visa?
Honestly, what I've seen with my own clients is that when they invest into a business that they're familiar with, they have a much better chance of success. So let's say that you are, let's say you have a medical practice in your home country. If you're not licensed in the United States, then you're not going to be able to do a medical practice. But if you can find something that you're investing into that is similar, you have a much better chance of success. If you run a restaurant in your home country, more likely you're going to want to go into the food industry. Having a franchise is something that could help you because they're giving you the operation manual, they're telling you how to run it, they have advertising, they have a proven chances, a proven track record of success. That is potentially a good option.
What about the real estate?
You have to show that it's an active company, and what they mean by that is they want to see, as I said, sales. If they view it as a passive investment, they're going to deny the request. So let's say that you set up a company that's going to invest in a trade in the stock market, more than likely, that's going to get denied. With real estate, there are ways you can do it. Number one, you invest in multi-unit properties. And when I say multi-unit properties, I'm not talking about duplexes or triplexes. You're looking at properties that have at least 10 units within it. The more units, the better. Because now you have to manage those properties, collect the rents, fix the properties when something goes wrong. That's a variety of different things. Another thing that you can do is flip properties. So you're, buying an old property that needs work. You go in there, you renovate it, you turn around and sell it. You can pretty much watch HGTV. And it's going to tell you how they do it. That's like all. The other one is buy real estate development, and that's buying, vacant land and building your own. Let's say you want to do real estate development. Okay, you could potentially bring in other investors to it. But the main thing is you have to have 50% of the business. So if you're bringing other investors into it, you can never lose 50% of the ownership of the business.
Okay. So if it's other partner is 50% owned, they both can apply it.
I've done that before. I've had clients that both have owned 50% of the business and done investor visas for both of them.
Okay.
I've done short-term rentals are, Short-term rentals, what you do need to do is you need to make sure you have multiple properties. If you only have one, it's not going to get approved. You need to have multiple properties. I would recommend at least 5 properties on your own, and I would try to find other properties that you can manage. The more, so you don't have to own all of them, you can manage some from other people. I actually had a client that got the investor visa based on the fact that they didn't own any properties, but they were managing like 20 properties.
Okay.
And they were managing them for short-term rentals like Airbnb, Vrbo, and they were able to get the investor visa that way.
So the real estate also, when they buy the real estate, can they buy using a loan?
The answer would be possibly. Okay, it's going to depend upon how much you're getting the loan, for, how much you've personally invested, and how much you've invested overall. If you're putting down 20% and getting the loan for the rest of it, that's going to be a little bit more troublesome. There are ways to do it, but you really have to invest a lot of money into it. So there are ways. I'm not going to say no, flat out no. You just have to make sure you have the right strategy in place throughout the whole process, which is why it's important to hire, an immigration attorney from the beginning, even before you start the project, to make sure they're guiding you in the right direction. Like that's what I do for all my clients. I want them to give me everything, to look at it. I want to talk to them about their strategy and make sure they know, that they're following the right rules and the right regulations to make sure that they get approved.
What is the process for the E2 visa?
Well, I find out what exactly you want to do. That's the main thing. Is what is it that you want to do? How what is your plan? Then once we find your plan, then we tell you, okay, the main thing is giving us everything. Anything that you get for the business, we will work with you to create a business plan. It's like every step of the way. When you are making a decision, when you're moving forward, we want you to talk to us first to make sure that you're doing it so that we can get it approved. I don't ever want to tell a client, hey, you did everything wrong. I always want to make sure that I'm there guiding them throughout the way.
Okay. So how long does it take to get an E2 visa?
Okay, well, the E2 visa is a different type of visa than others because you can file the E2 visa directly with the embassy. And each embassy has its own rules and regulations, and you have to look at what their rules and regulations are and make sure that you follow exactly what they're telling you. Once they receive the file, they have their own processing times. So I've seen situations where you submit the file and they take a week or 2 to review it and schedule the appointment. I've also seen situations where you submit the file and you don't get an appointment for about 2 months. It just depends on the embassy. It depends on their guidelines and their processes. I have a client that lives in Chile, and we filed everything in Chile, and Chile said, hey, we're not processing this right now, send them to Bolivia. So we sent the file to Bolivia, and with a week later, he had the appointment, he had the interview, he had the visas for him and his entire family. So it just depends on if the embassy's open and what they're processing.
If they get the E2 visa, is it possible to get the green card?
Yes, it's possible to get a green card. There's a variety of different ways that you have to do it. It's just an evaluation of what is the best route for you. There is a misnomer because people think that if you have the E2 visa, you cannot get the green card. But no, I've gotten many clients green cards when they have been here on the E2 visa. A variety of different factors go into it. One of them is we want to check to see whether or not you have a business in your home country that you worked for before you came to the U.S. If so, that might be a route to get you residency. Let's say you've done an investor visa and you've invested, they come in with an E2 visa, then they do the EB5. But also situations where with the E2 visa, one of the benefits is your spouse is eligible to get work authorization, and that spouse is working for a company that's willing to sponsor them for residency through a different process. I've done that for clients. There's a variety of different ways. We have to figure out what's the best plan for the client. What is their best way to move forward?